I never thought I'd be the type of person to snoop through my husband's phone. But there I was, at 2 a.m., heart pounding as I scrolled through Marcus's messages while he slept soundly beside me. My name is Clara, and until tonight, I thought I was living the dream, successful web designer, beautiful home in Boston, and married to a man who seemed to adore me. Funny how quickly perfect can crumble. It started with a notification. Marcus had left his phone on the kitchen counter while showering, and I glimpsed his mother's name flash across the screen. Normally, I'd never look, but something about the preview caught my eye. Transfer the money before she notices. My hands shook as I picked up the phone. The passcode, my birthday, unlocked it instantly. The full message from Judith made my stomach drop. Marcus, darling, remember to transfer the money before she notices. A good wife shouldn't question her husband's financial decisions anyway. I kept scrolling, each message worse than the last. Marcus and his mother had been systematically moving my earnings into a separate account for months. All those extra hours I'd been working, the big projects I'd landed, they weren't building our future together. They were funding Marcus's escape plan. What are you doing? I jumped at Marcus's voice, nearly dropping the phone. He stood in the doorway, water still dripping from his hair, eyes narrowing as he took in the scene. I trusted you, I whispered, hating how my voice cracked. All this time. Clara, sweetheart. His tone shifted, becoming the smooth, reassuring one I'd fallen in love with. You're misunderstanding. I'm just being prudent with our finances. You know how emotional you can get about money. Emotional? The word hit like a slap. You're stealing from me. Don't be dramatic. He crossed the room, reaching for his phone. This is exactly why I need to protect our assets. You're clearly not thinking rationally. I pulled back, clutching the phone tighter. Does that include the $50,000 you transferred last week? The money I earned from the Thompson project. Something dark flashed across his face, just for a second, but long enough. I'd never seen that expression before, and it terrified me. Give me the phone, Clara. His voice was soft, dangerous. We'll discuss this in the morning when you're thinking clearly. I handed it over, watching him delete the message thread with quick, efficient movements. As he walked away, I realized two things. The man I married was a stranger, and I needed to find out what else he was hiding before it was too late. The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I called in sick to work. My hands were still shaking from last night's discovery, and I needed answers. That's how I found myself sitting in Judith's pristine living room, clutching a teacup I hadn't taken a sip from. Marcus is just looking out for your best interests, dear. Judith's perfectly manicured nails tapped against her own cup. A man needs to protect his family's future. Surely you understand that. I watched steam rise from my untouched tea, fighting the urge to throw it against her cream-colored walls. By stealing my money? Such an ugly word. She clicked her tongue. This is exactly why Marcus came to me concerned about your emotional state. A proper wife trusts her husband's judgment. The room suddenly felt too small, too suffocating. Every family photo on the walls seemed to mock me. Pictures of Marcus through the years, always with Judith hovering nearby, always with that same controlling smile. I earned that money, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. I have a right to know where it goes. Judith set her cup down with a sharp clink. Clara, dear, let me be frank. You came into this family with nothing. Everything you have, your position, your social standing, even your clients, came through Marcus's connections. It would be a shame to jeopardize all that over a simple misunderstanding about money. The threat in her words was clear as glass. I opened my mouth to respond, but my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Where are you? Mother just called.
Come home. Now.
You called him. I stared at her in disbelief. Of course I did. Judith's smile never wavered. We're family, aren't we? And families don't keep secrets. I left without another word, but as I reached my car, another text came through, this time from an unknown number. I know what Marcus and Judith are doing. If you want proof, meet me at Riverside Coffee tomorrow at 10. Come alone. My finger hovered over the delete button. This could be a trap, another of their manipulations. But then I remembered the look in Marcus's eyes last night, that flash of something dark and unfamiliar. I saved the number. Sometimes the scariest decision isn't discovering you're being betrayed, it's choosing to stop pretending everything's fine. As I drove home, I realized I wasn't just fighting for my money anymore. I was fighting for my freedom, and I needed all the allies I could get. Marcus was waiting at the door when I pulled up, his face a mask of concern that no longer fooled me. "Where have you been, sweetheart?" "I've been worried sick." I forced a smile, wondering how long I'd been married to this stranger. Just clearing my head. "Everything's fine now." The lie tasted bitter, but for the first time, it felt like power. The mysterious texter turned out to be Sarah Collins, another web designer who'd worked with Marcus's firm last year. We met at Riverside Coffee, where she slid a worn leather journal across the table. "I found this when I was cleaning out my old desk," she said. "It's Marcus's. From before you were married." My fingers trembled as I opened it. The pages were filled with his familiar handwriting, but the words, they belonged to a stranger. Lists of women's names, detailed notes about their weaknesses, their insecurities. Methods of manipulation that made my skin crawl. "I'm on page 37, Sarah said quietly. "He dated me for 3 months. Everything was perfect until I got that promotion he wanted." I flipped to the page. There it was, Sarah's name, followed by Marcus's methodical analysis. "Too ambitious. Needs to be reminded of her place. Mother suggests financial pressure points." "There's more," Sarah said, watching my face. "Keep reading." The next pages revealed Marcus's blueprint for our relationship. Every insecurity I'd confided, every dream I'd shared, he'd twisted them into weapons. Clara, artistic, emotional, easily manipulated through praise. Mother approves. Perfect candidate for long-term control. My coffee went cold as I read entry after entry. The Marcus in these pages was calculating, cruel, and terrifyingly familiar. I recognized his techniques now. The subtle undermining of my confidence, the careful isolation from friends, the constant reminders of how lucky I was to have him. "Why are you showing me this now?" I asked. Sarah leaned forward. "Because he's doing it again. That new intern at his firm? I've seen the signs. And because..." She hesitated. "Because I should have warned you 3 years ago, before you married him. I was too ashamed then. I'm not anymore." My phone buzzed. "Marcus. Where are you?" "Mother's coming for dinner. Don't be late." "You need to be careful," Sarah warned. When I confronted him, things got ugly. He and Judith, they're good at making people disappear professionally, socially. "They. Clara?" We both froze. Marcus stood at our table, his charming smile firmly in place. Behind him, Judith lingered by the door, her face a mask of disapproval. "Sweetheart, what a surprise," Marcus said, his eyes fixed on the journal. "Having coffee with old friends?" I slipped the journal into my bag, heart pounding. "Just a work meeting." "Of course." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Sarah, lovely to see you again. Mother and I were just discussing your unfortunate departure from the firm last year." The threat hung in the air like smoke. Sarah met his gaze steadily, but I saw her hands shake as she gathered her things. "Think about what I said, Clara," she murmured, hurrying past Judith's icy stare. I stood to leave, but Marcus's hand caught my wrist. "We need to talk," he said softly, "about boundaries and trust." In that moment, I realized the journal wasn't just evidence. It was a weapon. And now I had to decide how to use it before Marcus and Judith used me. I spent 3 days pretending everything was normal while secretly photographing every document I could find in Marcus's home office. The journal stayed hidden in my grandmother Evelyn's house, the one place I knew they'd never look. That's where I was heading when Marcus called. "The firm's having an emergency partners meeting," he said. "I need you to bring my laptop from the study. The one in the bottom drawer." My heart stopped. I'd seen that laptop yesterday while searching. It was locked with a password I couldn't crack. "Can't you use your work computer?" "Clara." His voice hardened. "The laptop."
Now.
I found myself standing in his study, staring at the drawer. When I pulled it open, the laptop was gone. In its place lay a single photograph, me, meeting Sarah at the coffee shop, the journal clearly visible on the table. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Looking for something?
Meet me at the park.
1 hour. Come alone, or certain financial records might find their way to the SEC. I knew it was a trap, but I also knew I had to go. The park was empty except for Judith, sitting primly on a bench with Marcus's laptop beside her. Did you really think we would notice? She smiled that perfect, poisonous smile. Marcus has known about your little investigation since day one. We've been watching you fumble around, thinking you're so clever. Where is he? Dealing with Sarah. Judith's eyes glittered. Such a shame about her relapse. Drug addiction is a terrible thing, especially when it affects one's professional reputation. You can't. We already have. She opened the laptop, turning it to show me emails, bank statements, medical records. All forged, all devastating. The same could happen to you, dear. Unless what? Sign these. She produced a stack of papers. Transfer of assets, power of attorney, and a few other necessities. Sign them, and Sarah keeps her career. Refuse. She shrugged delicately. My hands were shaking as I took the papers. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd built, gone with a few signatures.
Then I noticed something.
A familiar handwriting on the laptop screen, partially hidden behind the forged documents. Another journal entry. Mother knows best. Clara's grandmother is the weak link.
If she won't sign, we move to Plan B.
The old woman's house is so isolated, accidents happen. Ice filled my veins. They weren't just threatening me anymore. They were threatening the only person who'd ever truly protected me. I picked up the pen, my mind racing. I'll sign, I said quietly. But I have conditions. Judith's triumphant smile told me everything I needed to know. They thought they'd won. They didn't realize they'd just given me exactly what I needed, proof of conspiracy and a reason to stop playing nice. Sometimes the most dangerous person isn't the one making threats. It's the one who has nothing left to lose. I found Marcus waiting in our bedroom that night. The signed papers spread across our bed like a surrender flag. His smile made my skin crawl. I knew you'd make the right choice, he said, gathering the documents. Mother will be pleased. Is that all that matters? I kept my voice steady, though my hands were shaking. What Judith wants. Don't start, Clara. He moved to the dresser, straightening his already perfect tie. Everything I do, everything we've built, it's all for us. Like what you did to Sarah? His reflection in the mirror went still. She made her choices. Like I did. I stepped closer. When exactly did you decide I was perfect for your little game? Was it before or after you read my therapy records? He turned slowly. You've been in my study. Your journal was very educational. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to meet his eyes. Tell me, did Judith help you plan everything from the beginning, or just the financial fraud? The mask slipped. Just for a second, but I saw it. That flash of raw fury that had always been hiding behind his perfect smile. You have no idea what you're talking about. His voice was soft, dangerous. I gave you everything. A career, status, a life most women would kill for. And this is how you repay me. You didn't give me anything. The words burst out before I could stop them. You stole my money, my freedom, my self-respect. The slap caught me off guard. I stumbled, catching myself against the wall as the taste of blood filled my mouth. Marcus stared at his hand like it belonged to someone else. Clara, you made me. Say that again. My voice was barely a whisper. Tell me how this is my fault. If you'd just listened. He reached for me, but I jerked away. Everything I did was to protect you from yourself. You're emotional, unstable. Just like your mother was. The world went very quiet. What did you say? Why do you think your grandmother got custody so easily? His smile returned, cruel now. Mother has friends in family court. We've had our eye on you for years, waiting for the right moment. You needed guidance, structure. We gave you that. I thought of all the years I'd blamed myself for my mother's absence, all the therapy sessions Marcus had supported me through. It hadn't been love. It had been reconnaissance. "You're right," I said quietly, reaching for my phone. "I do need help." I pressed play on the recording app I'd started when I walked in. His face changed then, becoming something I'd never seen before. Something that finally matched the monster in his journal. "You stupid bitch," he snarled, lunging forward. "You have no idea what you've done." I ran. I made it to Evelyn's house just before midnight, my split lip throbbing and my phone buzzing with messages I didn't dare read. My grandmother took one look at my face and pulled me inside. "He did this." Her voice was steel. I nodded, collapsing onto her couch. "I have evidence. The journal, the recording, everything." But my voice cracked. "They have something worse." My phone lit up again. This time it was an email from Judith. The subject line made my blood freeze. "Your mother's case file." "Clara?" Evelyn moved closer, but I could barely hear her over the rushing in my ears. The attachment showed court documents, psychiatric evaluations, custody hearings, all manipulated to paint my mother as dangerously unstable. At the bottom was a note: "How history repeats itself. Marcus is very concerned about your recent erratic behavior. The same judge who handled your mother's case still sits on the bench. They're going to do to me what they did to her." I whispered. "They'll make everyone believe I'm crazy." Evelyn reached for the phone, but another message popped up, from Sarah. "They're here. Police." Marcus filed a report about stolen company documents. "I'm sorry, Clara. I had to tell them where you are." The sound of sirens grew in the distance. "Back door," Evelyn said sharply, already moving. "My car keys are." The front door burst open. Marcus stood there, flanked by 2 police officers. Behind them, Judith smiled like a cat with cream. "Officers, thank God." Marcus's voice broke perfectly. "My wife. She's been struggling, taking company documents, making wild accusations. We're all so worried." "Clara Mitchell?" One officer stepped forward. "We need you to come with us." "Show them the recording," Evelyn demanded. "The journal." I reached for my phone, but it was dead. Completely dead, though it had been charged moments ago. Marcus's smile widened slightly as he slipped something back into his pocket. "Some kind of signal jammer?" "It's okay, sweetheart," he said softly, reaching for me. "We're going to get you help. Just like your mother needed help." The officers moved closer. In their eyes, I saw what Marcus and Judith had orchestrated. I wasn't a victim seeking justice. I was just another unstable woman making trouble. "I'm not crazy," I said, but my voice sounded small even to me. "Of course not, dear." Judith stepped forward, all concern and authority. "But these delusions about financial fraud, about Marcus hurting you, you need professional help. We have a facility all arranged." As the officers took my arms, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the window. Split lip, wild eyes, shaking hands. I looked exactly like the unstable person they were painting me to be. They'd won. They'd actually won. Then Evelyn spoke. "Actually, officers, I have something you need to see first." Evelyn walked calmly to her study and returned with a laptop. "Before you take my granddaughter anywhere, you might want to watch this." She pressed play. Security camera footage filled the screen, showing Marcus's office from multiple angles. My hands flew to my mouth as I recognized the date. The day my mother had her breakdown. "I had these cameras installed 15 years ago," Evelyn said quietly, "when I suspected what really happened to my daughter." The footage showed my mother confronting Marcus's father about financial fraud. Then Judith entering, making a phone call. Police arriving. My mother fighting as they dragged her away, while Marcus, barely 20 then, watched from the doorway. "You recorded everything?" Judith's perfectly controlled facade cracked. "All these years. Every meeting. Every threat. Every life you destroyed." Evelyn's voice was ice. "Including what happened in that office tonight." The screen switched to fresh footage. There was Marcus striking me. There was our entire conversation about their long-term manipulation, perfectly captured with crystal-clear audio. That's not. Marcus stepped forward, but one officer raised a hand to stop him. There's more, Evelyn continued. Detailed records of every fraudulent transaction, every falsified document. I've spent 15 years building this case, waiting for you to try this again. The second officer was already reading Marcus his rights. Judith's face had gone ghostly white. You planned this, she whispered. You helped Clara gather evidence because you knew. I knew you couldn't resist trying to destroy another woman who dared to challenge you. Evelyn smiled grimly. Just like you destroyed my daughter. The only difference is, this time I was ready. Officers, Marcus's voice cracked. My mother had nothing to do with. Actually, I cut in, finding my voice at last. Check his journal. The one in my bag. He documented everything, including Judith's role in all their schemes. He's been her puppet since he was a teenager. Judith's eyes snapped to Marcus, with such venom that he physically recoiled. In that moment, I saw him clearly, not just the monster he'd become, but the scared boy who'd been molded by his mother's ambitions. You kept a journal? Judith's voice trembled with rage. You stupid weak. Mother, please, Marcus begged, but she was already turning on him, spitting accusations, revealing more evidence in her fury than any investigation could have uncovered. As the officers led them both away, I felt Evelyn's hand on my shoulder. Your mother would be proud, she said softly. It's over. But watching Marcus and Judith tear each other apart in their final moments of freedom, I realized something. Revenge wasn't about making them pay. It was about breaking free of their control, both of us. Even if Marcus never understood that. I touched my grandmother's hand, finally ready to heal. Let's go home. 6 months after. Ready. Sarah squeezed my hand as we waited outside the judge's chambers. She'd been cleared of all the false accusations, her career restored. Now she was helping other women recognize the warning signs we'd both missed. I think so. I smoothed my skirt, catching my reflection in the window. I looked different now, stronger maybe, or just more myself. The door opened and a court clerk emerged with a thick file. My mother's file. The real one this time, not Judith's fabricated version. Miss Mitchell? The clerk smiled. They're ready for you. Before I could stand, Evelyn touched my arm. There's something you should know first. She pulled out an envelope, weathered and unopened. This came for you. From Marcus. My hand shook as I opened it. Inside was a single page torn from his journal, dated 15 years ago. Mother says I have to help trap Clara's mom tomorrow. Says if I don't, she'll reveal what really happened to Dad. Says I'm weak like him. Maybe she's right. I don't want to do this, but I don't know how to stop.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. He was 17, Evelyn said softly. The same age you were when they took your mother away. I folded the page carefully. Does this change anything? That's up to you. Inside the chambers, the judge was reviewing evidence of the conspiracy that had stolen 15 years of my mother's life. Evidence that would finally bring her home. Miss Mitchell, the judge began. Before we proceed, I should inform you that Marcus Bennett has offered additional testimony about his mother's involvement in. I don't need it, I interrupted. I have everything I need right here. Later, standing in the sunshine with Sarah and Evelyn, I thought about Marcus's note. About cycles of control and abuse, and how sometimes the people who hurt us are trapped too. What will you do now? Sarah asked. I watched a young couple walk past, saw how the man's hand rested possessively on his partner's shoulder. For a moment, I wanted to warn them, to share everything I'd learned about love versus control. Instead, I turned to my grandmother. I think it's time to tell her story. All of it. Maybe it'll help someone else see the signs before it's too late. Evelyn smiled. Your mother would like that. As we walked away from the courthouse, I realized something. Revenge hadn't given me closure. Understanding had. And maybe that understanding, knowing when to fight, when to heal, and when to share your truth, was the real victory all along. I was finally free. And somewhere out there, Someone else needed to hear exactly how I'd broken free too.